Hello and good afternoon, everybody. It is Tuesday, not Wednesday, April 18th. So I had a slight bit of time today, so I was able to, we're going to do three quick things, because I couldn't let this one go, because it's a trifecta of crazies, and including, actually it's a full house. So you have Cohen, Ellie Mustow, Mary McCord, Rachel Maddow. Yeah, we're doing this one. So we'll do that. It'll be like an hour, quick one, and then that'll be it. So let's get started.
Government, former Trump attorney Michael Cohen, and he joins me next. House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan's field trip to Manhattan today comes as his never-ending quest to find any credible evidence of U.S. agencies being politically weaponized has so far been a total dud. But believe it or not, he is getting warmer. There is one New Yorker who does know a thing or two about being the target of a weaponized government and what that actually looks like, who's actually experienced it firsthand. And no, it's not Donald Trump. Getting warmer, it's his former lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen. Here's what his lawyer, Lanny Davis, told me last month.
This is now a federal judge who was told by the Justice Department, by the same prosecutors that coerced him into these guilty pleas.
Yeah, coerced into guilty pleas, or let's just say for a lighter sentence. Yeah, coerced, because they totally made him do his own tax medallion fraud and his tax fraud all on his own.
Filed papers and said, we're sending him back to prison because he refused to sign a paper, but it had nothing to do with the fact that he was writing a book about Trump. The judge heard the evidence, and the judge said what was told to me by the federal government prosecutors was not true. That's a nice way of saying lying. He was sent back to prison out of vengeance to force him to sign a paper that he wouldn't write a book, and the judge ordered him out of prison. People in the Southern District of New York and the Bureau of Prisons had to have been embarrassed, and Mr. Berman tells us why that happened. It had to come from somebody in Washington.
Joining me now is Michael Cohen, former Trump personal attorney, principal of Crisis X, and the host of the Political Beatdown and Mea Culpa podcast. His new book is called Revenge: How Donald Trump Weaponized the U.S. Department of Justice Against His Critics. Talk about weaponization of government. What do you think of this field trip?
I mean, I think it's a waste of time. It was a waste of New York taxpayer dollars. Dan Goldman put it perfectly, as did Barbara Lee.
Congressman Sheila Jackson.
Sheila Jackson, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When they turned around, they said, this is nothing more than a political stunt. Mm-hmm. That's all that this is. It's a political stunt designed in order for Jim Jordan to show his supreme leader that he's still loyal, he's still in the camp, and he's going to do his bidding. And it's really sad, because when they first opened up this subcommittee, I was really hopeful, not optimistic, but hopeful that he actually really wanted to get to the bottom of the weaponization, because the United States is not about Donald Trump. It's not about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. It's about the United States and the citizens, and his responsibility, despite the fact that he's a Republican, is to act for the benefit of all Americans. He is not doing that, and it's a disgrace.
And I mean, you have made the point that the federal government was weaponized against you. I mean, you were prosecuted for something you didn't do. Donald Trump did it. You did it for him. You did what you did for him.
Yeah, but that's not the thing. It's so I was thinking about this in the car ride. Not even about necessarily this, but just the situation that Cohen was in. When they say that individual one directed him to do that, they're trying to imply that they said that the individual one wanted him to pay Stormy Daniels specifically. It wasn't necessarily about the catch and kill scheme, but they're trying to make it about that. That's what I'm getting from this. I could be wrong on that. Like maybe they're trying to say that the catch and kill scheme was involved, and with the documents about individual one, but I'm starting to think no.
And then you were put back, as Lanny Davis just said, into jail because you just wanted to write a book.
Another 15 days of solitary confinement. I mean, bringing it to 51 days in total. This is not normal behavior. This isn't something that you would see in the United States. In essence, they made me the first political prisoner held in my own country because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional rights. And if that doesn't scare you to death, it should, because you could be next. That's the whole point of everything that I'm doing. Donald Trump is a clear and present danger to the United States and to our democracy.
He's now suing you for $500 million.
Yeah, I got served actually today. I have two great lawyers that are coming on board any day now.
And
We're
suing
in the
you
process.
For what?
He's suing me for defamation. He's suing me for breaking an NDA, which I don't recall ever signing. I don't believe that they've ever been able to produce that document either. But there's all sorts of other issues that are there. But I have two great lawyers that are coming on. And I promise you one thing, they're not like Donald Trump's, crackerjack carnival attorneys. I'm talking about the real deals, and he's gonna regret today.
Evan Corcoran represented Donald Trump, and he still doesn't represent him in some things, but he's now recused himself from the document theft case, the Mar-a-Lago case. He actually testified to the grand jury in that case. You have been Donald Trump's lawyer. You know the risks of representing this guy and wind up, in the making attorneys get attorneys situation. What do you make of the fact that he's trying to pull himself away in at least that part that seems pretty dangerous to Trump?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he's doing the right thing. He's protecting himself now, something that I should have done myself. Right? You may remember years ago I had said to Stephanopoulos, that my first loyalty belongs to my wife, my daughter, my son, and my country.
Yeah.
It looks like Corcoran is taking that advice to heart.
If there was a genuine investigation of the weaponization of government, because we talked before this break started, you could legitimately have a good committee investigation on it, going back to what was done to Dr. King, all the way forward to what was done with in your case. What would you want to see investigated regarding what happened with you in the Southern District of New York?
Well,
I'm sorry, did she just compare what Cohen went through with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?
It's bigger than me. I'm trying to use my specific case for something, again, much larger than me. Right now, the American people don't have faith in our Department of Justice. How could we not have faith that our Department of Justice is acting in the best interest of the American people? How can we not believe that our Supreme Court members are not acting on behalf of, their, theocratic sort of principles and ideologies? They're supposed to be above that, as is our Department of Justice. But what have we all really learned? We've all learned that that's not true, that we are all just basically sitting ducks to those who are in power. And if, in fact, like what happened with me and Donald, when he gets, angry at you and you are the object of his ire, you're in big trouble.
Yeah. What is your concern if he ever were to be president again? Because obviously you are on his list.
And so are you, and so are many others. Anybody that is a critic, look to see what's happening in foreign countries. Look what.
No, he might criticize you again while he's president again.
What's happening today, right, where they gave 25 years to, the Russian.
Exactly.
This is not a joke. And if you think for a second that we're not going to start seeing things like that happening down the road with the Donald Trump or a Donald Trump 2.0, people are really mistaken. And it's why I constantly say you have to vote. Yeah. It's so important.
Fascism is real.
It sure is.
And it is really right here.
And it's right around the corner.
Absolutely. Michael Cohen, thank you.
Good to see
Up next, you too. Ethics questions continue to pile up around Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and his wife, Ginny, based on new reporting about where their income is actually coming from. We'll be right back.
Yeah, don't look at any of the other judges. No. Oh, and what happened to the leaker? No cover about that one.
It should come as no surprise that Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas doesn't just disregard disclosing his financial transactions.
If you guys are just coming in, I know I said I wasn't going to do anything today, but I couldn't help myself with the people that were there. So I was going through and just picking through what I want to show tomorrow from yesterday, and I'm like, when we actually get to, especially for Seditious Taco Tuesday, of course we have to have Rachel Maddow. So we have Rachel Maddow with Mary McCord coming up too. And then we also have Ellie Mustow coming up right now. So between Cohen, Ellie Mustow, Mary McCord, and then of course who is it? Stop the Hammering. I'm like, okay, we're just going to do a quick hour here and then we'll be done.
As our friends at Slate note, Thomas's disdain for disclosure is evident in his rulings and his solo dissents in two cases involving disclosure in elections. The first, his lone dissent in part of the Citizens United decision that paved the way for unlimited dark money in our elections. In it, Justice Thomas argued that the court should invalidate mandatory disclosure and reporting requirements. The other was a 2010 case, Doe versus Reed, where Thomas argued that a law requiring names of people signing referendums be made public was harassment, prompting Thomas's real voice on the court at the time, the late Justice Antonin Scalia, to clap back. Requiring people to stand up in public for their political acts fosters civic courage, without which democracy is doomed. I do not look forward to a society which, thanks to the Supreme Court, even exercises the direct democracy of initiative and referendum hidden from public scrutiny and protected from the accountability of criticism. Meanwhile, today, we got another round of new reports about Thomas's inability to accurately report his finances. According to the Washington Post, for 2 decades, Thomas has reported rental income in the thousands of dollars from a real estate firm started by his wife Ginny's family that doesn't exist, or at least hasn't existed since 2006. But he has reported receiving between $270,000 and $750,000 from the firm since 2006 as rent. It follows ProPublica's reporting about a questionable real estate deal with his billionaire right-wing benefactor, Harlan Crow, which revealed that Crow purchased Thomas's mother's house in 2014, along with 2 other properties also owned by Thomas and his relatives, which Thomas failed to disclose. CNN reports that Thomas intends to amend his disclosures to reflect the deal, under which his mother lives rent-free.
So it's very clear. They're giving him the same exact treatment that they give Trump. Like, this is the level of scrutiny, going into the finances, trying to pick everything apart. They're clearly trying to railroad him. It's clear what's going on here. Let's see. Thank you to JBTN01 with the cookie on the Foxhole Pill chat. Very much appreciated. Thank you to Filter Dog as well with the can, with the blue pill antidote can. Much appreciated. All right, here we go.
According to CNN's report, Thomas believed he didn't have to disclose the deal because he lost money, which seems to be a recurring theme, that simple financial disclosure forms are just too difficult for Justice Thomas. When he amended his disclosures in 2011, after it was revealed that he hadn't reported $690,000 in wife Ginny's income from 2003 to 2007, he claimed it was a misunderstanding of the filing instructions. After ProPublica first divulged the extent of his globe-trotting luxury vacations on his billionaire buddy Crow's dime, Justice Thomas' excuse was that he was advised that that sort of personal hospitality didn't have to be reported. But after getting away with it for literally decades, Clarence Thomas is facing even more and increasingly serious calls.
Can you guys believe he got away with taking a vacation with his friend? Can you believe that? You guys, I don't know. When you were a kid, can you believe your parents took you on trips and paid your way and paid for your meals? Can you believe that? Can you believe your parents and you didn't report that income that you were getting lavish gifts from your family and friends at Christmas. Can you believe that you didn't do that? That's what this is like. You may want to. They'll argue that this is much more lavish. It's much more exotic. Okay, it's still a fucking gift. I mean, if they're advised that they didn't necessarily have to do that, and I think in this case it's because the guy that was supposedly giving these lavish vacations, they were friends, and he never had any business in front of the Supreme Court, which is one of the reasons for recusal or reporting requirements.
For investigation into his failure to properly report his finances. And that is coming up after this break. Following the latest revelations about Clarence Thomas, the watchdog group Crew has filed civil and criminal complaints against Thomas. And Senate Judiciary Committee member Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island has asked for the Justice Department and the Attorney General to investigate Thomas's failure to report all the goodies that he's gotten. Democratic Judiciary Chairman senators met to discuss Justice Thomas today. They say they're planning hearings into his non-disclosures in the weeks coming. Joining me now is the great Elie Mystal, Justice correspondent for The Nation. Okay, so there'll be hearings, but Justice Department, you and I think we feel the same way about whether they're going to do anything.
Yeah, I don't feel really great about the Justice Department doing anything. I don't feel really great about this current Senate Judiciary Committee doing anything, because the thing that needs to happen right now is for Thomas to have some dignity and resign. He is basically right now.
Yeah, just give us a Supreme Court, another Supreme Court person. That's let's just go out and say it. The first thing he says is, we want to pick a new Supreme Court justice.
Saying that he is a Supreme Court justice who is able to tell for certain what you can do with your body and your uterus, whether Thomas, he pulls out the Ouija board, can tell whether or not Thomas Jefferson wanted you to have an AR-15, but he can't fill out a form.
Right.
He can't fill out a financial disclosure form.
It's too hard for him.
Maybe he shouldn't have gone to Yale. Maybe he should have gone to St. John's and learned some actual law if he's literally...
You're saying that he can't fill out the forms. What he's been advised is that up until now, he was advised that he did not have to fill out the forms. So it's not that he can't. He's told that he did not need to.
Sitting here saying he can't fill out a form. And there's a deeper level of hypocrisy here, Joy. Law professor Leah Lippman reminded me of this today. Last term, Justice Thomas ruled against a death row inmate who wanted to bring up evidence of his actual innocence. The defense attorney at the time didn't bring it up, and Thomas said that because the defense attorney didn't bring up the innocence at trial, that the inmate couldn't use it now. And so even though there was evidence of his actual innocence, that man is still sentenced to death row. That is the justice.
So he can't amend his.
Literally has a man right now set to die for not putting something in at an earlier date. That's the justice who now says, actually, I'll just amend my financial disclosure forms and it'll be fine.
Well, I mean, he's...
All right, one more time. What was that?
Poor.
Justice should now die for not putting something in at an earlier date. That's the justice who now says, actually, I'll just amend my financial disclosure forms and it'll be fine.
Well, I mean, he's poor. They're different. I mean, at least Clarence Thomas seems to believe, even though he grew up poor, that poor people and rich people have different sets of justice, right? Women have different sets of justice, and we have no rights that men are bound to respect. Some of the people who are defending him are also taking money or also on the payroll. I mean, you've got people who are also in this sort of cycle of grift saying, this ill guy, Ilya Shapiro, he tweeted, this is just Harlan Crow, unless he has some business for the court, there's nothing wrong with it. Ilya Shapiro, former professor, tweeted President Biden would pick a lesser black woman to replace Justice Breyer, was fired from Georgetown Law. Other people, who are defending him also get money from this guy, Harlan Crow.
I didn't see Ilya's tweet because he blocked me on Twitter, which is a thing that I'm actually quite proud of.
Proud of it.
But yes, the idea that Republicans are pushing right now is that what Thomas did is no big deal. The reason why they're pushing that is because Thomas brings them victory.
Yeah.
Because they're all in on the same cahoots. Everybody knows that if this was reversed, if Ilya Shapiro, who, as you pointed out, said horrible things about Ketanji Brown Jackson, if this was reversed, if Ketanji Brown Jackson was taking yacht trips and failing to financially disclose, we know what these people would be doing to her. We know what these people would be doing to anybody. But it's all part of the same Republican grift. Remember, Thomas is unique in the level of corruption and unethical behavior, but he's not alone, right? Samuel Alito out here having dinner parties with, guests and leaking the Hobby Lobby decision. John Roberts funneling money through his wife, and Thomas's boy, his hero, Antonin Scalia. Where did Antonin Scalia die? At a hunting lodge, funded by a rich Republican donor.
Yeah, but did you ever look into how he died? Yeah.
This is all part of the same grift.
And I think it's also one of the reasons people are questioning the legitimacy of the court, period. First of all, John Roberts has no control over these people at all. There's no dignity left in the court. Few people respect the court at this point because they do seem to think they live in a different world from the rest of us. They play by different rules. They get to grift all this money. I mean, there is a big difference between saying your wife makes $690,000 and zero. Yes. He didn't make an accounting error. He said zero when it was like $690,000. That's not an error. That's an omission on purpose.
Yes, that is a cover-up and corruption, and they know they can get away with it. To bring it back to where you started about the DOJ, about the Senate Judiciary Committee. The Republicans know they can get away with it. The Republicans know that nothing bad is going to happen to them, and so why should they follow the rules? There are no consequences for Republicans for breaking the rules.
Let's talk about this house, because first of all, you know, everybody black, you're supposed to buy your mama a house. You don't let some friend buy your mama a house. You're supposed to buy your mama a house yourself. So he lost that on the black card a long time ago. But I mean,
there it is, and there it is. Lost that on the black card. There you go. Yeah. Why? Is it because he's married to a white woman? Does that upset you, Joy Reid, that you don't accept him married to a white woman?
On the issue of the house itself, the fact that his mom doesn't pay rent, that in and of itself puts that in the Justice Department's field of vision. It should, right? Because that means that's actual graft.
5 U.S.C. 13104 lays out financial disclosures for federal judiciary, including the Supreme Court justices, and having your mama live rent-free in a house that you didn't buy her, but you got one of your friends to buy for her, that is a textbook violation of that law. And of course, he should be investigated and prosecuted for that violation. But, Joy, I always come back to this. There is no mechanism to remove a Supreme Court justice.
Oh, that's too bad.
Impeachment.
Other than impeachment. So I look to Congress, even this Congress, and say, is there anybody left there that has the dignity and the respect for the institution to actually rid the institution of one of its most corrupt members? Most likely not. I look to Thomas himself. Remember, Abe Fortas, a former Supreme Court justice, was accused of taking $20,000, just $20,000. He was a democratically appointed justice. It was in front of a Democratic Congress. Unlikely that he was going to be impeached, but Fortas resigned. He had to resign. The public pressure on him was such that he had to resign. I'm looking for that kind of thing to happen to Thomas, especially when we get into the point. Remember, we're in April. We're about to hit decision time. Right. We're about to hit a number of 6-3 or 5-4 decisions where Thomas is the deciding vote.
Yeah.
This couldn't possibly be the reason, could it? Oh my. Oh, there's a bunch of decisions where he's the deciding vote. Let's go after his financials and attack him. And there it is.
On who gets rights and who doesn't get rights.
I think we are paying the moral price for having 2 out of 9 members who were credibly accused of, sexual harassment. Harassment all the way to sexual assault.
Are you kidding me? The Anita, was it Anita Hill? Is that what it is? Or is it Dunn? I forget what the name is. So that was a railroad job. We understand that, and so was Kavanaugh's. Are you shitting me?
We still don't know how the $700,000 debt of Kavanaugh got paid off mysteriously. So much corruption.
If you believe women, most of this doesn't happen.
Believe black women, because I'm trying to tell you. Ellie Mistal, thank you. That is tonight.
Oh, my. Okay. Wow. That is a lot. All right. Next up, we go all the way.
Oh, no.
All the way to Russia.
Trump, Putin, Russian collusion.
Trump, Russian sort of collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible collusion. Trump, Russian, metal collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, potentially collusion.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian, collusion. Trump, Russian collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Russian hacked our election. Here comes a big change.
Because all of a sudden, Trump, Russian possible collusion, Russian collusion.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion.
Trump, Russian possible collusion. Trump, the Russians, collusion.
Collusion with the Russians. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Prove collusion. Prove collusion.
Was there collusion?
Absolutely.
Trump, Russia, possible collusion. 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 Trump, Russia, potential collusion. Trump, Russia, potential collusion.
And the Kremlin and be in collusion with Putin and the Kremlin and be in collusion and Putin and the Kremlin and be in collusion with Putin and the Kremlin
are very
and
worried.
be in collusion. This president in collusion with Putin and the Kremlin and be in collusion. This president in collusion with Putin and the Kremlin
are very
and
worried.
be in collusion.
All 17 intelligence agencies.
17 agencies.
17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed.
17 intelligence agencies.
17 different United States intelligence agencies.
All 17 of them.
People are very worried.
All right, we had a lot of people tap out over the last video, and I don't, to each their own, but it's all right, here we go.
Known that Vladimir Kara-Murza is Alexei Navalny.
Okay, so what happened is I'm cutting out about 10 minutes of Rachel Maddow going on and on about, remember that guy, Rusty Bowers? Apparently he had brought in somebody from Russia or somebody to talk about something at some point, and so then now she's going on this explanation about some of these other people, Russians that are, or people that are being held in Russian, or either one or the other, spies either here from Russia or over in Russia from supposedly here. But the most recent one is this journalist that we saw. I think we saw it yesterday, who's been accused of espionage in Russia. So of course she's bringing all this up to talk about the documents leak with the Discord server.
Who you see on the screen here. He has already been imprisoned. We've had news just in the past few days that Alexei Navalny has become so ill while in prison that an ambulance was called several days ago. His lawyers believe that he is being poisoned inside prison. And that sounds, of course, like a far-fetched thing to claim, except for the fact that Alexei Navalny has already been poisoned by the Russian security services. He was poisoned in a nerve agent attack in 2020. And as you heard Rusty Bowers say, Vladimir Kara-Murza has twice been attacked with poison, having barely survived each time. Now, like Alexei Navalny, they've sentenced him to a long term in prison. They've sentenced him to 25 years in prison. That treatment of opposition figures, that is part of how Russia is waging this war that they started in Ukraine and a dictator's war against their own people. I mean, in Russia, for anyone, it's a 10 or 15-year prison sentence if you call the war a war. You cannot use that word for it, or you go to prison. There is not a single high-profile political opposition figure who is still free today in Russia. And now they're handing out 25-year prison sentences for grave crimes like expecting a speaking invitation from Rusty Bowers at the Arizona State Legislature. That's one way they're waging their war. Another way they're waging their war is by locking up all the press. It is no longer legal to operate effectively a non-state-controlled news organization in Russia. And one American journalist, Evan Gershkovich from the Wall Street Journal, is in Russian prison today, having been charged with espionage for the grave crime of working as a reporter inside Russia. Today, finally, the U.S. ambassador to Russia was allowed to see Mr. Gershkovich in prison. It's been more than 2 weeks since Russia locked him up. They only let him have his first visit from the U.S. Embassy today. Ambassador Lynn Tracy said that Mr. Gershkovich is in good health and that he remains strong. She also reiterated that the U.S. government is demanding that he be released. So that's another way that they are waging this war right now. Still another way that they're waging it is, weirdly, this.
After a lot of online sleuthing by disinformation researchers, particularly Russian disinformation researchers, the Wall Street Journal has just published this bizarre report about one of the largest, most widely followed pro-Kremlin, pro-Russia, pro-Putin social media networks on Earth. First of all, the amazing thing that they report is that this network apparently is controlled by an American woman who is reportedly pretending to be Russian. She is pretending to have been born in eastern Ukraine. She was not born in eastern Ukraine. She was born in New Jersey. But she's claiming to be of Russian origin when she is not. She has reportedly been running this major online network supporting Russia in the war in Ukraine with accounts on Telegram and Twitter and YouTube and Spotify. There's even a podcast where she apparently speaks in a kind of fake Russian accent. The Wall Street Journal is describing her linked social media accounts as a prominent online voice supporting Russia's war in Ukraine, describing it as among the most widely followed English-language social media outlets promoting Russia's views. But again, it's all run by an American woman pretending to be a Russian. And what the Wall Street Journal is reporting now is amazing on a few different levels. You know the classified documents that were allegedly posted online on that gaming server, that Discord gaming server by that 21-year-old Massachusetts?
How is it alleged at this point? Are you shitting me?
Massachusetts Air National Guardsman who's now been arrested. Part of the mystery around that story has not just been how did a kid who looks like he's 11 years old get access to documents that secret. Another part of the sort of logistical mystery of it has been the timing of it all, because this young man allegedly posted all these documents, classified documents. He posted them online starting in December and January, but they didn't come to public attention until much later, until this month. Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, part of the reason that happened the way it did, part of the reason these documents finally came to public attention after languishing on this gaming Discord server where nobody was noticing them, is because one particular social media account with a big following, this one social media account with a big following for being pro-Russian and pro-Putin, the one run secretly by this American woman, her Telegram account started posting these documents to their own Telegram account a couple of weeks ago on April 5th. So the Massachusetts Airmen had been posting them on this Discord server. It was this woman, apparently, or at least the network she was running, that circulated them more broadly by posting them on Telegram.
So, Tim Burgett, is this what you posted on True Social? Is that related to this story in here?
She has a large following on Telegram by pro-Russia, pro-Putin, pro-Kremlin interests. Big Russian accounts started picking up these documents only after she posted them to Telegram, started circulating them more widely, and then that's when the Pentagon finally noticed them and started investigating. In other words, the documents were basically unnoticed, sitting there on obscure gaming server chat rooms. They didn't get noticed at all until this big pro-Putin social media account put them into circulation. There's a bunch of things that are very interesting about this. I mean, one, this pro-Putin social media network, which played this key role, apparently, in circulating these classified documents, the woman who reportedly runs that network is not only American, even though she claims to be Russian, but until November, according to the Wall Street Journal, she was in the United States Navy, stationed at Whidbey Island. That seems like a problem. Another point here, perhaps a bigger problem here, is that there is a Fox News Channel problem associated with this. In this whole scandal about these classified documents being posted online, you might have heard along the way that some of the documents were altered.
Here it comes.
So it wasn't just that this was all classified material that the public was never supposed to see. Part of the issue here was that some of these documents were altered from what they originally said.
Okay, how do you know what they originally said? So, how do you know what they originally said? Was it because of what the media said that the numbers were?
Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, the changed documents, the doctored documents, are the ones that were posted online by this woman or by the network that she was running, this pro-Putin, pro-Russia social media network, which put these things into wider circulation. Specifically, what was changed? Well, one of these documents was changed to make Russian casualties in the war look way lower than they were, and to make Ukrainian casualties look way higher than they were. In other words, this one document was doctored to make it look like Russia was doing way
just the one.
better in the war than they actually are, and to make it look like Ukraine was losing really badly.
Okay, if they are winning in overwhelmingly, convincingly fashion, why do we still have to keep sending them billions of dollars? Why are they having to dress up grandmas and grandpas and teenagers to go and operate, equipment and artillery or whatever? Why do they have to do that if they have enough and they're winning? Now here's the thing: this person who they're saying this lady, whatever, is it possible that they could have altered the numbers? Absolutely, it is absolutely possible. Now, do I believe that? No, just because of how much they're freaking out about it.
Another way to put it is the way they put it when they discussed it on Fox News.
The second thing we learned from these slides is that despite direct U.S. involvement, Ukraine is in fact losing the war. 7 Ukrainians are being killed for every Russian.
Ukraine is losing the war. Ukraine is losing the war.
Are they winning the war?
7 Ukrainians are being killed for every Russian. That's not actually what you can learn from the slides. That's what you can learn from...
This is why I wanted to show this today, because if there was anyone that was going to tell us what was going on with these slides and all this leaked material, it was going to be the chief Russiagate person, the person that is Russia to their bone and lied about everything about it for the whole Trump presidency, and probably still continues to do it if it ever came up. What is her main focus here about the troop numbers? What was the main focus that we saw on CNN about the troop numbers? So, yeah, it's very obvious that whether or not those numbers were altered or not, whatever the ratios are, or actually are, I guarantee you they are closer to what these slides are saying than what the media has been reporting. I guarantee you that.
The documents that were allegedly posted.
So maybe it's not 7-1. Maybe it's 3-1. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't. It's more about the sentiment or yeah. Right. It's what that is. It's that we understand that they are definitely not winning the way that they said that they've been winning.
Online by this Massachusetts Air National Guardsman who was arrested that week. But then, in order to get that 7 Ukrainians killed for every 1 Russian killed, in order to get that, you could only learn that from the slides that were crudely doctored by the pro-Russia, pro-Putin social media network that circulated the classified information in the first place, but only reportedly, after changing the documents to try to make it look like Russia's war is going way better than it is. So how did these documents get into circulation? This weird pro-Russia social media network affiliated with somebody who just got out of the U.S. Navy, that is the network that also circulated the fake documents that were altered crudely to make it look like Russia is definitely...
Okay, so if this is the case, there has to be 2 sets of documents then. So does anyone have any evidence anywhere you've seen anything online yet where there are 2 differing troop totals? Has anyone seen that at all? I'm assuming that would have been one of the first things, Anons and other people would have spotted. Does anyone have any inkling, or have you seen the original images at all to know if there's any validity to what she's saying as far as doctored? It was obviously doctored. Let me know in the chat if anyone has either a link to what these are or whatever.
Only winning the war, and Ukraine is definitely losing. And that's the document that Fox News highlighted on their network last Thursday night. So the Fox News Channel, of course, is going to have their big day in court starting tomorrow. Their defamation case with Dominion Voting Systems will finally get into court. It was supposed to start today. When it was delayed to tomorrow, that led to lots of speculation that maybe the case wouldn't go into trial and the two sides would settle. It now looks like they are going to go into trial tomorrow, so we shall see. I should tell you also that last night, a federal judge threw out a motion for a mistrial, a motion to dismiss the case. That's pending against one of the Proud Boys members who's on trial for seditious conspiracy for his alleged role in the attack on the U.S. Capitol January 6th. Remember the Fox News thing where Fox News primetime was going to blow the lid off the January 6th investigation hoax by showing all the security camera footage from that day that they didn't want you to see? Well, one of the Proud Boys defendants actually tried to cite that Fox News footage in his court case to have the judge throw out the whole case against him, since Fox News said January 6th was no big deal. Well, the judge last night laughed that out of court in every respect, saying there would be no mistrial, no dismissal, that Fox News had not actually shown anything exculpatory to these defendants at all. So we will see what happens in that Proud Boys seditious conspiracy trial, which is heading toward closing arguments now. The Fox News sort of false story about what happened on January 6th has not been enough to rescue those defendants from the fate they will ultimately have handed down against them by the court. We'll also see what happens in the Fox News Dominion Voting Systems defamation trial, which is due now to start tomorrow. We'll see if Fox News lying deliberately about the election results is going to have any legal consequences or financial consequences for that network. We'll also see what happens in the classified documents leak trial. That 21-year-old Massachusetts airman is due back in court on Wednesday. We'll also see what happens with what the Wall Street Journal now reports is an active FBI investigation of the American woman running this pro-Russia, pro-Putin disinformation social media network, which reportedly played a key role in circulating those classified documents, getting them into the bloodstream online, and which apparently succeeded in getting completely faked pro-Russia disinformation, unpasteurized and unfiltered, onto the highest rated hour on the Fox News Channel's primetime lineup last Thursday night. We'll see how all those cases and investigations turn out. But what a world, huh? I mean, if you're the kind of person who gets unnerved by the intersection of very far right, very partisan U.S. politics and our national security, well, those things are colliding. And that intersection is getting very weird and very intense right now. We've got more ahead on that. Stay with us. So it's the young airman in Massachusetts. Now it's a Navy veteran, a woman discharged from the U.S. Navy in November in Washington State. The first report came today from USNI News, the U.S. Naval Institute, citing 2 U.S. defense officials. Feds investigating former sailor behind pro-Russian social media accounts. Then late this evening, the Wall Street Journal updated their big reporting from this weekend. FBI investigating ex-Navy non-commissioned officer linked to pro-Russia social media account. Quote, the FBI is investigating the activities of former U.S. Navy non-commissioned officer who oversaw a social media account involved in the spread of intelligence documents allegedly leaked by Airman First Class Jack Teixeira. The Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that the woman, Sarah Bills, administered several pro-Russian outlets while in uniform. The scope of the investigation into Ms. Bills, a 37-year-old who left the Navy in November, couldn't be determined. One U.S. official said, quote, she is actively under federal investigation, but the circumstances of the content of the investigation are unclear at this time. Joining us now is Mary McCord. She's executive director of the Institute for Constitutional Advocacy and Protection.
Know what they usually say? We cannot confirm or deny an active investigation to somebody, and yet here they are just blatantly saying, yes, we have an active investigation to somebody. I'm pretty sure, yeah, so you guys can see where this is going, right?
At Georgetown Law Center, and she's a former acting assistant attorney general for national security at the Department of Justice. Ms. McCord, it's nice to see you. Thanks for being here. It's good to have you here in person. So I'm muddling my way through these stories, I think, like any layman here, but I just have to ask you, with your national security background, if it is of greater concern to you or of less concern, or is it beside the point that the 2 people in these 2 stories, one with the classified documents leaked, allegedly, one with them widely circulated, allegedly, are both people with active or very recent ties to the U.S. military?
It's hugely concerning. I mean, we are talking about people who swore oaths to the United States, people who, now it's unclear what access Sarah Bills had to classified information while she was in the service. We do know that.
Now, you guys realize, or I'm sure this is pretty obvious, when she says that these people took an oath, it's also an oath to defend Ukraine, apparently, and so this is what they're saying. They're saying, oh well, if you apparently now have aided the Russians, so now you are not against the United States, but against Ukraine.
That Jack Teixeira was provided access to very highly classified documents, which means he signed a non-disclosure agreement. He signed an agreement that says he understands the law and he will not mishandle classified. He won't take it home. He won't transmit it to anyone else. He won't share it. He won't talk about it. He signs that knowing that it is unlawful to violate that non-disclosure agreement. But more importantly, he and Ms. Bills took oaths to the United States, and they know that what they're doing, particularly, Mr. Teixeira knows that even if he thinks he's just going to put this out in his Discord chat group of gamers, once it's out there, he's got no control over what others do with it. Ms. Bills, even though she's out of the military, she spent enough years there to certainly know the damage that this kind of thing could do. So I think it's hugely concerning that these are people who America entrusts with being in our military.
We're also learning more about the sort of circulation dynamics of these documents. They appear to have been posted online in January, as far back as December, maybe. What the Wall Street Journal and other sort of online sleuths following the stuff have been discovered is that the place they first got wider circulation is when this very heavily followed pro-Russia account, allegedly operated, or network allegedly that includes this Navy veteran, they posted them on their well-followed Telegram channel. Other Russian and pro-Russia accounts picked them up from there and circulated them. Given what we know about the nature of the documents and what...
So it looks like one of our chatters, Timberjet in the Foxhole, has been following this pretty closely and is saying that they actually followed this Telegram channel and that the photos that were there were the same ones that were on the mainstream media circulating. Like, it wasn't anything. So it looks like they're using her as a scapegoat, probably because, again, they've alleged that there's Russian ties with Telegram, so that gets them to go after Telegram. Then number two, it kind of goes against this, or it says like, the ex-Navy part, the trying to play on this, saying, well, we don't know. We have all these people using these different programs. We're going to have to monitor them. But, just for, our military guys or this and that, or, that's what they'll probably, are they going to try to weasel in the Restrict Act that way? I don't know.
What we've seen about where they circulated and who circulated them. What do you think of the damage that's been caused by this leak and by the way these have gone around?
Well, there's so many documents even beyond the ones posted on the, Russian social media web page or whatever it is, that cover such a wide variety of areas. But what's really concerning is how recent it is. And, I've been a little bit surprised in some ways about some of the reporting that does get into the details of some of these documents, because sometimes when the government is really, really worried about the harm from certain classified documents that have leaked, they will reach out to the media and ask to, keep certain things quiet for a time period. Other times they may think, look, it's out there, there's going to be sort of less reputable news organizations that will promote it, maybe say different disinformation about it. And so we'd rather trust the reputable news organizations. So the government is still assessing the damage from the documents that have already been released. They'll be doing a full intelligence assessment. But now, with the revelations about Sarah Bills, they're also, I think, going to be doing a deep dive into her history to determine if, while she was in the service or any other time, what are her connections with, Russians? What are her connections with Putin and his allies, if any? Is there anything else that she might have been doing when she was active duty? What were her level of clearances? What did she have access to? So there could be more here that we just don't know about.
One of the dynamics that you learn about very early on, whenever you start at any level in the media dealing with this kind of stuff, is that anytime there's a leaked document, you have to assume that there's a very good chance that it's also a false document. Anything that's leaked usually can't be verified because it's been leaked, and so it's a great place to see disinformation. Now now that we have seen one of these apparently doctored documents front-paged on primetime Fox News as if it were real information, I wonder if the government has to contend with sort of balancing the harm that could come from validating the veracity of some of these documents versus pointing some of them out as doctored. I mean, they could come out and say, yeah, these documents aren't true, but that would imply that the other ones are.
That's right. And that's the quandary. And when I mentioned that sometimes the government will reach out to the media to say, please keep this quiet, they're making that calculated decision, and they're making a decision for that purpose to declassify in order to protect the national security, right? So here, that's the very analysis they'll be doing, right? If we acknowledge or say these things are doctored, it implies the others are real. And that's got to, the equity holders, the national security agencies and intelligence community who own that information, it's the information they collected, they've got a say in that about whether, the government's going to confirm or stay quiet on authenticity.
Mary McCord, former acting assistant attorney general for national security at DOJ. Thank you. It's really good to have you here. Thank you. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Yeah, firm handshakes, sir. Firm handshakes all around. Okay, let's see. All right, I think that's going to do it for today, guys. We'll, because the other ones are topics that we're, still developing, or they're pretty much the same, just more punditry. So, like I said, I wasn't planning on doing one today, but I couldn't help myself, especially with McCord and the documents, Rachel Maddow, and it being Seditious Taco Tuesday, Ellie Mistal, of course, and Cohen. So I was like, we got to put that one out there. So we'll probably do another quick one tomorrow. We'll probably be off on Thursday, and then we'll be back on Friday. So I say that, but anyway, that'll do it for today, guys. So we'll catch you on the next one. Have a great rest of your afternoon, evening. Thank you to Filter Dog 1 with the cookie with the message. Thanks for the pop in. Much appreciated.